Good morning, dear students. A warm welcome to all of you for our today's digital session after the third online assessment for the subject Science and Technology Section A. Today, we are going to start with a new chapter from Section A, chapter number 14, Substances in Common Use. This chapter is divided into three parts. In the first part, we are going to study about the important salts which we use in our daily life. In the second part, we are going to study about radioactivity and about the radioactive substances. And in the third part, we are going to study about certain chemical substances which are used in our daily life. So let us start with our first topic, that is the topic for today, important salts in daily life. Important salts in daily life. Now you know your food, the food which you eat always becomes tasty or develops its taste due to one of the salts which is known by you, that is common salt. Also, apart from this, we use various different substances in our daily or day-to-day life. In the previous classes, we have learned about certain substances, their uses, their constituents, substances like toothpaste, baking soda, water, curds, milk. In this topic, we are going to study about the salts. The first salt which we are going to study is sodium chloride or the common salt. The next one is baking soda, followed by bleaching powder and washing soda. About the salts. Now you all know that ionic compounds which do not contain H plus and OH minus ions and contain only one kind of cation and anion, they are called as simple basic salts. The different examples are sodium sulfate, potassium phosphate or calcium chloride. Now, inorganic substances, you know about the organic substances we have studied in chapter number 13, substances which contain carbon. But here we are speaking about inorganic substances. They occur naturally in the form of salts rather than acids or bases. About 80 million tons of salts are added every year to the seawater, and hence the sea is said to be a rich source of salts, and when you taste the seawater, it is salty to taste. In fact, we can say that the sea is a rich source of several salts of various elements such as chlorine, sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, bromium, etc. Now the different salts which are found in seawater, they are the one which you know, which you use in your day-to-day life, that is sodium chloride. Apart from sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate, potassium chloride, calcium carbonate, magnesium bromide. These are the different salts which are found to a large extent in seawater. Now, this scale which you see here is known as the pH scale. Small p, capital H. pH. P stands for potence and H stands for hydrogen. Potential of hydrogen ions means strength of the hydrogen ions. More about the pH scale in details we are going to study in chapter acids, bases and salts. Now, the three types of salts are, one is neutral salt, acidic salt and basic salt. When you can say that a salt is neutral, now here you can see the pH scale ranging from 0 to 14. So you can say that a salt is neutral when its pH value is 7. So a salt is neutral when the pH value is 7, and such a salt, it is made from a strong acid and a strong base. Next is acidic salts. When you see that the pH value of a salt is less than 7, that is between 0 to 6, then we can say that the salt is acidic in nature, and such a salt is made from strong acid and a weak base. And the third is basic salt. When the pH value is greater than 7, that is between 8 to 14, then we can say that the salt is basic in nature, and such a salt is made from a weak acid and a strong base. You have to remember it carefully. Strong acid, weak base, then acidic salt, weak acid, strong base, then a basic salt. Here there can be different questions which can be asked related to MCQ. When the pH value of a salt is less than 7, then the salt is dash, neutral, acidic, basic. So if you know it thoroughly, then only you will be able to answer. Now we begin with the salts in details. The first, I don't have to tell you more. Salt, which is an essential, a common ingredient in your food, everyday food. It gives a salty taste, and it is the most used of all the salts which are found in seawater. Now the chemical name for table salt is sodium chloride. So its chemical name is sodium chloride, and the molecular formula is NaCl. Now you know sodium chloride means this salt we have studied in details when we have studied about the ionic compounds. It is formed from sodium and chlorine. How it is formed, that also I have told you. So chemical name is sodium chloride. Now this sodium chloride, it is formed by a neutralization reaction between sodium hydroxide, that is a base, and hydrochloric acid, which is an acid. Now about this common salt, what are its properties and what are its uses, that we are going to study as our next topic. Properties and uses of common salt. Now the salt which you use in your house, that you can see in the form of a powder, that is not the actual common salt. It is the iodized salt. So the common salt which you get from the seawater, if you see, it is a colorless and crystalline ionic compound. Now ionic compound you all know. Crystalline, it is in the form of crystals which have no color. You can see in the form of small granules, also in the form of crystals. They are available in the market. For fish and all, your parents might be using that salt. That is the correct structure of this common salt. There is no water of crystallization in its crystalline structure. As you all know, it is a neutral salt. Just now I have told you, formed by the neutralization reaction between a base and a acid. Next is, all of you know about its taste. It is salty in taste. A very important use is this salt is used for the production of various salts like sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate. About this salts also you are going to study in details ahead in this chapter. Sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate. When an electric current is passed through a saturated solution of sodium chloride, which is known as brine, it gets electrolyzed and hydrogen gas is released at the cathode while chlorine gas is released at the anode. This is your reaction. Electric current is passed through a saturated solution. So NaCl, sodium chloride plus water, it gives NaOH plus chlorine plus hydrogen. When the salt is heated to a high temperature, a temperature of about 800 degrees Celsius, it will melt, and this is called diffused state of the salt. When the fused state of this salt is electrolyzed, now see, electrolysis is in two parts. One is through a saturated solution of sodium chloride, and one, when the fused salt is electrolyzed, chlorine gas is released at the anode and liquid sodium metal at the cathode. So here question can be asked to you, what reactions are observed or what are the products when electric current is passed through a saturated solution of sodium chloride and through the fused sodium chloride salt. So both you have to know it thoroughly. The 25% aqueous solution of salt, aqueous solution means when dissolved in water, it is called as saturated brine. It can be asked as a film. So this is about the properties and uses of sodium chloride. You know that salt is also obtained from a certain type of rock, and that salt is known as rock salt. The mineral halite and Himalayan rock salt are some of the examples of the rock salt, and this salt is used to treat many types of diseases. Our next salt, which we are going to study in details in this chapter, is sodium bicarbonate. Here I have told you in the uses that sodium chloride is used for the production of sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate. So first we are going to study about sodium bicarbonate in details. Sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. Here I have first displayed some photographs in front of you, which are mouth-watering photographs. The food items which you love to eat. In the first picture you can see dhokla. In the second picture you can see cake. So this baking soda has a major role in making this dhoklas very soft and fluffy, or same for cakes, or your mother might be making crispy bhaji at home. Even you can see the cake is very porous and soft. You all love eating such things. So here it is the baking soda who plays an important role in making all these things soft and fluffy. This ingredient is not added to give a particular color or a particular taste to any substance, means any food substance, but it is added to make the things soft, porous and fluffy. About its properties, it is a white non-crystalline powder. Baking soda is a white non-crystalline powder. It is not available in the form of crystals. Chemical name of baking soda is sodium hydrogen carbonate or sodium bicarbonate. Why sodium hydrogen carbonate? You can see its molecular formula NaHCO3. So sodium hydrogen carbonate. So sodium bicarbonate, which is commonly known as baking soda, is also called as sodium hydrogen carbonate and has molecular formula NaHCO3. About its properties and uses. The first is sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. It reacts with moist litmus paper, and here red litmus is seen to turn blue, determining its basic nature. Means sodium bicarbonate is basic in nature. About the first use, I don't have to tell you, just now I have told you. Here the use they have given in the textbook. It is used to make bread, cake, dhokla. Here you can add, it is used to make bread, cake, dhokla soft and porous, because it is not an ingredient which is used to make that particular food stuff. It is used to give that property of softness or fluffiness to the food stuff. So that should be mentioned in the use. Now I have told you in the very first property that it is basic in nature. Let us see what use it has because of its basic nature. Before we go ahead, here you can see a photograph of fire extinguisher. So this NaHCO3 is it is used to make the active substance carbon dioxide, which is used in the fire extinguisher. You have studied in chapter number 13, carbon an important element, how carbon dioxide is used to extinguish fire. And then we had seen the reaction of sodium bicarbonate with sulfuric acid. You had seen that entire setup of fire extinguisher. So how carbon dioxide is released in that reaction. So here you come to know that sodium bicarbonate is used to make this active substance carbon dioxide in fire extinguisher. Just now I have told you that it is basic in nature and hence it is used to reduce the acidity in the stomach. When you have the acidity problem, it is due to the increase in HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid in your body, and to reduce the effect of this acidity, you have to neutralize it by mixing it with a base, and this baking soda is basic in nature, hence it is used to treat the acidity problems. And the last use is it is used to clean an oven. This was our second salt which we have studied in details. Now let us move towards the third salt, that is bleaching powder or calcium oxychloride. Bleaching powder or calcium oxychloride. It has the molecular formula CaOCl2, calcium oxychloride. You might have observed the typical smell coming from the tap water during the rainy season. Have all of you experienced it? Also, the water in the swimming pool, it also has the same type of smell, and this is the smell of the chlorine gas. Now this chlorine gas, it is used to destroy the microbes, the harmful microbes in the water, and hence the water in the swimming pool is having the smell due to the presence of the chlorine gas. It is a strong oxidizing agent and therefore it has a strong disinfecting as well as bleaching action. You know, a large number of bad microbes, they affect your water, especially in the rainy season, or after different people they swim in the swimming pool, the water it becomes infected, and to disinfect that particular water and make it pure, this chlorine is added in it, and hence you get that typical smell of chlorine. Now this chlorine, it is inconvenient to handle because of its gaseous state, and instead the solid bleaching powder which has the same effect is more convenient to use. If you just go on adding this chlorine gas, it is very difficult to add this gas because it is in the gaseous state. So in place of it, it is replaced by bleaching powder which has the same effect. Now this bleaching powder, it undergoes slow decomposition due to the carbon dioxide in the air and chlorine gas is released. Bleaching powder, it gets this property because of this release of chlorine gas. So calcium oxychloride, CaOCl2 plus carbon dioxide from the air, it forms calcium carbonate with the release of chlorine gas, and bleaching powder, it gets the property of an disinfectant because of this chlorine gas. Now bleaching powder, it is obtained by the reaction of chlorine gas with slaked lime. Slaked lime is calcium hydroxide. CaOH2 plus chlorine gives bleaching powder, that is CaOCl2 with the liberation of water, and hence this bleaching powder is used as a disinfectant. And more we are going to study about its properties and uses. The first property is bleaching powder is a yellowish white colored solid substance. Second, chemical name is calcium oxychloride, that is CaOCl2. You all know that it has a strong smell of chlorine gas, especially those who were going, now due to the pandemic the swimming pools and all are closed, but those you used to go for swimming, they all have experienced this smell. Or forget about the swimming, when you visit different resorts and there you have the swimming pools, there you will get such a type of smell of chlorine gas. It is used for disinfection of drinking water at the waterworks and the water in the swimming pool. It is used for the bleaching of cloth, hence it is known as bleaching powder. Used for disinfection by the roadside and garbage sites with the areas which are more attacked by microbes. Dilute sulfuric acid. Now about the chemical properties. Dilute sulfuric acid and dilute hydrochloric acid react rapidly with bleaching powder to release chlorine gas. One of the reaction you will see with sulfuric acid, CaOCl2, that is calcium oxychloride, when treated with sulfuric acid gives calcium sulfate. With the liberation of chlorine gas and water, calcium oxychloride, it reacts slowly with carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate and chlorine gas. So here we complete 3 salts. The first is sodium chloride, the second is sodium bicarbonate or baking soda, and the third one is bleaching powder or calcium oxychloride. Now our next salt which we are going to study in details is washing soda or sodium carbonate. When we had studied the uses of sodium chloride today in the beginning, I had told you that sodium chloride is used for the production of sodium bicarbonate and sodium carbonate. So sodium carbonate is also known as washing soda. So let us study about it in details. Washing soda, Na2CO3.H2O. H2O is water of crystallization that we are going to see in chapter number 5, acids, bases and salts. More about water of crystallization. Now you all know that well water is hard water. So the hard water from the well or a bore well, it becomes soft on adding washing soda. And how you come to know about it? You come to know about it from the lather which is formed on it. The hardness of this water, it is due to the presence of chlorides and sulfates of calcium and magnesium in it, and where washing soda plays a role, washing soda or Na2CO3 is added to it to soften such type of water and then make it suitable for use. The reaction of sodium carbonate, it causes the formation of insoluble carbonate salts of magnesium and calcium. You can see the reaction magnesium chloride. I have told you that the hardness of the water, it is due to the presence of chlorides and sulfates of calcium and magnesium. So you can see one of the reaction, magnesium chloride reacts with sodium carbonate forming magnesium carbonate and NaCl. Now this sodium carbonate or washing soda, it is a water soluble salt of sodium. Crystalline sodium carbonate, on just keeping it open, it loses its water of crystallization and a white powder remains behind, white anhydrous powder. This powder is called washing soda and it is used for basically washing of clothes. So you can see Na2CO3.10 water molecules. When the water of crystallization is lost, you will get Na2CO3.H2O, which is nothing but a white powder, that is washing soda. About its properties and uses, the very first property is it is a whitish and no smell, odorless powder at room temperature. Litmus has a blue color in its aqueous solution. Hygroscopic in nature. What do you mean by the term hygroscopic? Hygroscopic means it absorbs the moisture if left exposed to air. If you take your washing powder which is there at home and just you keep it open, after a few minutes, after a few hours, you will find it has become wet in nature because it is hygroscopic. It is used mainly for washing of clothes, that I need not have to tell you. And sodium carbonate is used in the glass and paper industry and also in the refining of petrol. With this, we complete with the explanation, a detailed information about all the important salts which you see around you in your day-to-day life. Now, some other crystalline salts, we are just going to see their names. The first one is alum, potash alum, having molecular formula K2SO4 dot Al2SO4 thrice with 24 water of crystallization, water molecules of crystallization. Borax Na2B4O7 dot 10H2O. Epsom salt or magnesium sulfate MgSO4.7H2O, barium chloride BaCl2.2H2O, sodium sulfate known as Glauber salt Na2SO4 with 10H2O. Now, you only have to remember their names and their molecular formulae by heart. It can be asked as a 1-mark question. What is the molecular formula of borax? What is the molecular formula of barium? Or 4 options will be given and the 3 options will be wrong. 4th molecular formula will be correct. So unless and until you know the water molecules and all correctly, you will not be able to answer such type of questions. And also all the 5 salts you have to learn it by heart. It can be asked as a 2 marks question. Give the names of any 4 substances used in your daily life which contain water of crystallization apart from the main salts. Then you have to give the any 4 names. Now alum, you have heard this. It is used in the process of water purification. Why? Because of the property of coagulation. The solid impurities in water, they come together, become heavy and settle to the bottom, and as a result, the water above it becomes clear. Blue vitriol is used in the blood test for the diagnosing of anemia. Anemia means when the blood level in your body becomes less. You call such a type of disease as anemia and the person you call as anemic. In the Body X mixture, which is used as a fungicide on fruits like grapes, muskmelon, slaked lime, it is used with blue vitriol. Body X mixture, you have heard about it. So these are their different uses. With this, we complete with the first topic of the chapter, that is about the important salts in day-to-day life. In our next online session on Monday, we are going to start with the next topic from this chapter, detailed information about radioactive substances and radioactivity. Thank you, dear children.